Welcome to Nightlight. Step away from the mainstream and gather around as we enlighten the world and our realities and travel this cosmic journey we call life. Join us as we share with you and provide that beacon that can guide us all to a better way. Explore with us as we examine a metaphysical montage of spiritual insights, covering everything from the mundane to the magical, UFOs to unicorns, and everything in between. This is a time of awakening, of sharing and evolving, of spreading our wings and soaring on the cosmic breath of creation. Come and join with other light-minded spirits as we weave our lights together to seek understanding, enlightenment, and with a little luck, some wisdom. This is Nightlight, a reminder that you are never alone.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another fascinating edition of Nightlight. We have a unique show for tonight. Wait, hang on a second. Something's wrong. Is there like some kind of tech issue going on?
I don't know.
Calm down,
Mark.
Calm down. Your guests are here.
Hi.
Oh, it just seemed like Bill's Third Eye Blind is broadcasting over us.
No, we're good. We're good. We're not broadcasting, but we will be Wednesday. So.
Oh, okay. Well, I had other guests for tonight. There's
Ron?
We're
in trouble.
Yeah, I had scheduled for tonight Johnny Holmes and Seika, and they're supposed to be on next week and the following week, and
right.
So the rest of the okay.
My OnlyFans page is going to be going live pretty soon, so this is a great segue.
It is. It's perfect.
Okay.
I mean, he's got a lot of OnlyFans. So. I am my OnlyFans, so it doesn't matter.
Okay. So so you guys look like bearded paranormal researcher types. So you're probably in high demand for podcasts. You've probably been on like the real famous ones, like with Penny.
Yeah.
And the History Channel show. Wow. And you're probably going to be speaking at a lot of conferences. It looks like you guys do a lot of that. So you're SIR Bryan Bowden and Ron Murphy. Is that right?
Yes.
That's what it says. Yes, sir.
Okay. Sorry I called you Bill and Rob, but okay. So all right. So with the celebrity status that you have, I'm sure you're going to be speaking at let's just say the Crossing Realms conference. What's the idea behind that? What will your topics be at this prestigious conference?
Well, I think the cool thing about the Crossing Realms conference is that it provides an open forum for so many different aspects of the world that we call the paranormal. I myself will be speaking on the wonderful world of the fairy and its aspect throughout history and how it could pertain to current paranormal discussions. And Brian over there, Brian, what are you going to be talking about?
I'm going to be doing cryptids and Dogman, but I'm going to be segueing into the cryptid side of it and how it relates to. There is a common thread, and it relates to UFOs and some other paranormal based stuff. And Ron is an amazing knowledge base for everything in the entire paranormal realm. And he has a plethora of books out on the On series, which are incredible. Um, I know I've formatted a couple of covers for him, but he is to see Ron do his thing live. It's like nobody else, and I'm not just saying it because him and I had Inside the Goblin Universe, together, and we did that for a while. But he is. They call him the crypto guru because he knows what he knows, and he knows everything. He
Well,
does.
that's very good.
Okay, and who else is going to be there? Sounds like a stellar lineup.
Yeah. We're gonna get Bigfoot Michigan Rob's gonna be there. Tex Wesson's gonna be there. Donnie Cho, the ladies from Blondes and Booze, Krista and Brandy. Monica's gonna be there. Brent Thomas is coming in. Paranormal Paul from Paranormal Among Us. And I know I'm missing a few others, but a lot
Ian
of
Y Song's going to be there.
yeah.
So yeah.
I think Ken Gearhart is may or may not. I don't remember. But they have a plethora of people that are
Big,
informative and influential in
it-
the
they're
entire
they're
community.
they're big names.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what? If I could piggyback off of Brian said, and I think it's very pertinent. So a lot of times you'll see these conferences with these celebrities, right? TV celebrities posted as the headliners, right? So people are going to go see these folks because they've appeared so much on television. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of those people who do a lot of television work do very little research, right? So what I am so excited about this conference, why I cannot wait to attend it and actually and watch the speakers is because the people there are actual researchers. And this is one of those very unique times whenever somebody that has affinity towards the world of the paranormal can actually be brought to this place and get so much different perspectives from it. And that's really what makes this particular conference so unique.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
and
the vendor list is big too, by the way. I mean, a lot of people come for a little bit of supplies and some unique items as well. But they come from the people that have had, I hate the term though, boots on the ground, but in the field researchers. Ron is constantly, going into the Chestnut Ridge area, and everywhere he goes, even when he's in, the Mothman conference, he's investigating. So, I do the same thing.
okay, and when and where is the conference? There's Crossing Realms conference probably has a website.
Well, tickets are available on Eventbrite.
Okay,
For the Crossing Realms Conference. The conference is taking place in September 19th and 20th. I believe it's the full dates. Yep, 19th and 20th, Fridays and Saturday. And it is in Richmond, Missouri. So we'll be all traveling to Richmond, Missouri and filling it with love and light and everything paranormal at this point to, you know, get it going on.
cool. Okay, and let's see Ron, you have a book on um, the Gettysburg area, and Brian was just there a weekend or two ago.
Yep.
So both of you have studied the paranormal at the just in the Gettysburg battlefield. What since both of I've been there too. What did you learn from your experiences by being at this major historic uh, destination?
Well, I learned what made me write the book, really led me to write the book, is I learned very quickly that everybody in Gettysburg is trying to take your money. So there's a lot of charlatans down there. There's a lot of snake oil salesmen. And if you are a serious paranormal investigator, and a lot of families, these are destination trips. They want to go there. They want to experience things. They watch television. They want to use all the cool tools that these ghost hunters use. So what I did is I created a book. I have a big family. I have 5 kids and 2 grandkids. So I created a book that a family can go there and not come home bankrupt, basically.
Yeah.
I kind of give it a delineation of all the things that you have to see. And you can still investigate the Jenny Wade house without going inside the Jenny Wade house. You can see all these things. So I gave background information on the entire area. So you could basically wander around at your own leisure. And I denoted some of the places where ghosts have been seen. So it's kind of like a guidebook that families can get together and just have a lot of fun with it. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. The reason I'm here talking to you now is my mother had such a love for the paranormal growing up, Bigfoot and UFOs and all this stuff. And, I tried to instill this into my children as well. But the best things that I can remember looking back on my life was doing things like this with my mom. And I'm happy to see that a lot of these conferences that we attend, there's more and more families coming to them. I think that we need that. And Brian, you're a family man as well too.
Yeah.
I mean, we are here to make as many people possible to come into the field, right? We don't want to exclude them by prices, or we don't charge for autographs or anything. But this field has become so saturated with the seekers of fame that we really have been now relegated to almost a periphery in any kind of research. But I take my research very seriously. Brian takes his research very seriously, and we're hoping that with events like this, the mainstream public will see that there are a lot of people seriously investigating what we call the paranormal, hoping to try to provide some sort of answer for this very bizarre, lovely world in which we live in.
And there are people that are true scientists.
Mm-hmm.
I do other shows. Ron does Spaced Out Radio, and one of the things that annoys a lot of people talking about scientific method when you're not really a scientist. I did study the sciences, but there are actual scientists, anthropologists, PhDs in chemistry and DNA, and that are really taking a look at this now and getting their feet wet. But what Ron provided, which is so instrumental when you have, a couple of kids, or at least ones that you know of. And I have daughters at this point, so they're very expensive, and you got to know where you can go and maybe pick up some good eats, but not kill your punch a hole in your pocketbook. He is right about a lot of the outdoor stuff. Like Jenny, wait, you don't have to go inside the house. You kind of can get an idea. It kind of looks similar on the inside as the outside, and if you know where to look, you'll know where certain things are of importance are. But one of the things you should definitely do as a family, because people don't do it anymore, is to walk around the battlefields.
Mm.
you can climb up on the huge tower that they have, a memorial that they have there, and you can overlook 360 degrees. You can go up to the fire tower. Kids love that stuff. It's not about like, oh, get me a ghost doll or anything like that. They want to know about these things, and Ron's book is instrumental in providing someone a fun time for your family without breaking the bank. My first experience with Gettysburg was probably about 4 years ago. I've never been, but I've always wanted to go. I've heard the stories. If you see period costumes on those fields, those battlefields, or at Devil's Den, or in the rocks, there are no period actors that do this. It's very rare. They'll make it publicly known, but 99.98% of the time, if you see someone in that kind of garb on the field, you are actually looking at a ghost, which is not known by people. I've been to certain areas of the fields. It does close at sunset. There are certain bridges that are still open in Ron's book that you can still experience the spookiness of what it was like to be in Pennsylvania in the 1800s, with men and women and whoever around you ready to fire at will. But one thing that I did learn was I went to the main center. I guess it's the Gettysburg Official Visiting Center before you get to the battlefield. And if you follow along what was in the movie there, and that sometimes it does cost you money, but I think I don't think I think it can be free because it's federal. So you don't necessarily have to pay for it. Your taxes pay for it. Um, you will go into the rotunda and see a video of how this started, narrated by Morgan Freeman, and you will realize that a lot of the negativity of those 1800s, it's replaying right now in this country, and how divided we are, and how divided the paranormal community is. So I think we're trying to bring it a little bit more closer together, on that
Yeah,
aspect.
a lot of people talk about para unity,
Yeah.
and the conferences that we have attended that have para unity in the title have been some of the most divisive conferences I've ever attended in my life. So I think that what we're
I
doing
agree.
here with this particular conference coming up is trying to make this as egalitarian as humanly possible. It's well represented by both men and women, because oftentimes this is a boys' club, right? Sitting around smoking cigars
Yeah.
and wearing leather hats and such. But this is going to be one of those events where it's just not about stars. It's just not about the men. It's about very serious researchers in a field that a lot of people didn't take seriously until now.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm just seeing a little Diane Brighton, who's in the chat, and Wayne and a few others. But he's right about that. I go to Gettysburg because there's something called the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash. It's a 3-day affair. It's designed a charity event to raise money for Gold Star families, Blue Star families, and others that are in need. I believe they bought an automated chair for a woman who was desperate for it. They took care of a kid. Actually, the year that I was there with Ron when he was presenting the first time, there was a child outside selling lemonade and stuff his dad made in woodworking to raise money because he has a disease that's really taking the toll on him. And this is where a lot of these paranormal people really step up, and they donate their time and whatever it is to be there and make things better. But a lot of these para unity events just become, let's drink at night and hang out and whatever. It's a weird. It's not really a conference. It's more of a get together. And in this case, it is a conference. We have all these people that you can call them power celebrities. I mean, Ron has done a ton of programs. I've done it. A bunch of people have. It's nice to be recognized for it, but it's not a big deal. I recently did something with Ron with Red Earth Uncovered, and less than a week ago, I found the medium shirt that they gave me as compensation to do the program, and I was at least a 2XL, so that would have been fun to watch. Um, but when we're going to be there, like there's going to be an actual investigation done on that Friday night, and then that Saturday night they're gonna, or I think it's a meet and greet, and then there's going to be an investigation at a haunted facility. So you're getting a lot more bang for the buck, and they're good people there. No egos. We don't have egos. None of us have egos there, and it's wonderful when good people that have put their heart and soul into something get recognized in this capacity, and they always give back anyhow. So it's good.
Yeah, I have some paranormal shows coming up. Some of them are grouped around the Mothman conference, and I think our buddy Lynn Monet is going to tie together a lot of the information. But as kind of start kicking around some ideas for those shows. Just kind of wonder about, when people talk. I don't know what the right term is, but there's like a lingering presence at a place, and I just wonder if you've experienced anything or have read studies on President Lincoln's appearance after delivering the Gettysburg Address. Was about a year after the 3-day battle. Is there something that people have noticed about his ghost, or whatever the term is, being there? Is there also one at Ford's Theater, or the how the house across the street? I forget the name. I'm sorry about that. But is there information about someone's energy, ghost, being in multiple places?
In multiple places.
Yeah.
Go for it, Ron.
Yeah, there's actually reports of the same person haunting different areas, appearing at different times in their lives as well too. So it's a very interesting thing. A figure like Abraham Lincoln, I think, is too big to fit into one haunting, right? So it's understandable that his ghost would linger at a place where his life was taken away by such violent means. And without the Gettysburg Address, we probably would not have America the way it is now. So these are very pivotal points. And, of course, they're the legendary hauntings of the White House by Lincoln himself as well. But what is so interesting about Lincoln this particular time period is this is really whenever theosophy is coming into its own, right? This is kind of like a knee-jerk reaction to industrialization, to mainstream religion, and it was a hearkening back to a time whenever spirituality really took over, right? And a part of this theosophic movement was going to mediums and doing seances and things. And we know for a fact, historically for a fact, that Mary Todd Lincoln held seances within the White House, and Abraham Lincoln himself was part of this. So I think whenever we take all this into consideration, that Mr. Lincoln was very open to the idea that this was a spirit haunted world, and whenever he passed away, you could probably understand, at least from a logical point of view, that if the body does continue after death in some sort of energetic form, then why couldn't that energy be displaced over different areas? And I think that's probably what we're looking for. But when we talk about ghosts in the paranormal, so they're far different than talking about Bigfoot or Dogman or UFOs, because I think unequivocally everybody out there, maybe 90% of people would say that they've had some sort of spiritual contact, right? That's just who we are. That's the makeup of us, of human beings. So whenever you go into places that are filled with history, ghost marks or ghosts are merely the bookmark to that history, right? They're the place setter. They're the ones that say, there was lives that here that mattered. It's just not pages in a history book. This was a very visceral time to live in. And by examining these kind of spiritual hauntings, we figure out that there was more to it than just what our history books say. These are actual human beings that lived and imprinted themselves onto the land.
And then on top of that, something you got to understand that the number of individuals that passed away or lives that were taken in this battle was immense. Then we hadn't seen something like this in forever, and that even wasn't the biggest battle of the Civil War. And the energy, be it from the internal human being, externally vibing versus the cannons that were used and the ammunition and dynamite and whatever else, that energy is like in the old days a tape recorder, and it's taking that magnetic mark and putting it on what circles the energy that circles the Gettysburg area. Least we forget, not only has Lincoln been seen in areas where the address was given, but we had a time traveler there. I believe his name's Andrew Basigo. He's an attorney, and he swears he was part of Project Pegasus, which allowed him to go back in time. And if you look at the photos, he definitely does stand out as somebody looking different than everybody, all the other civilians that were normally there and the way they were dressed. So we have a lot of energy there. We have things lingering there. When you first said hauntings and lingering, I was initially thinking mother-in-laws, because they can be haunting and lingering. But there's a lot going on everywhere you look and you go, and that's why on top of that, I'm going to promote his Gettysburg book again, or I'm going to promote his books. They're on Amazon. Go take a look up Ronald L. Murphy Jr. and you will, I'm telling you, when you get his books, you're getting literally a view of it from a layman's term, sightline a lot of times, but also as a higher, brow. He does write. The way he speaks is the way he writes. It's very methodical and melodic, and it's almost poetry.
Mm-hmm.
So you really got to check out. I've said this to Ron like
Yeah,
thousands.
I appreciate that very much. Yes,
it's more of a conversational kind of manner as well.
Yeah, I mean, and I remember Ron put out a book, and I think it was on vampires, and his first review was someone going, "I just wanted to read a book about vampires. I didn't know I needed a college degree to get through it." Now, Ron was a little bit put back, and I said, "That's awesome," because I've said to Ron before, he should be teaching this whole subject matter. Power you at a university or a college, and his books should be sold as the reading materials because he does get up there, and the only way to elevate or move up in life and be better is to always strive for something more, higher up. You want to be a better basketball player, play against Michael Jordan if you get a chance, and you're going to be 10 times better than the guy, the next person, even if you keep losing and falling down. So don't give up on some of the the literature, Open your mind up. You have this computer on your phone that can go, what does it mean? And then you can put it in context. Get the Kindle version if he has it. Or you could probably reach out and contact Ron, and he'd be more than happy to discuss it with you.
Or see him at the Crossing Realms conference.
Yes.
Even better. Even better. That's exactly right. That's right.
Yes.
And Brian and I will both be there. And I'm hoping, because we've been working on a book now for about 37 years about possible human
It's my fault, by the way.
contact in the Americas by ancient astronauts, which I think is a stunning book. I truly do. I mean, ever since we sat down and we started to work it together, but it takes a long time to write a book. Brian's been through a hell of a lot of stuff, so I don't blame him. But I'm hoping against hope, fingers crossed, that we might be able to have something down there that we could present together, because we'll be under the same roof at the same time.
Yeah. I've got a couple things brewing, but yeah, I'm working on it. I have it. I think I'm just going to put what we got together, and then we can go into the expanded version, and then go into detail later and clean it up in the author's copy, which you all will clean it up. But it's going to have different things in it. And it's not your standard book. There's, I'm finishing up this one end of it, and I'm putting in these little, I call them gray boxes, throughout the book. And they'll have details, like if we're mentioning the various races of extraterrestrials that we're talking about, the various races of archangels, and there'll be little pieces on them if we can, and put it in there. We don't know. Hopefully we'll have some pictures to go along with it, but with pricing the way it is, it may
Do you need an
not be
illustrator?
feasible. Are you an illustrator, Mark?
Yeah. We'll get that to that in a little bit. But I did illustrate one book.
Okay.
But
Cool.
we'll talk about that.
Sure.
Some other time. But since you were talking about the higher ups, here's Ron's book that we're gonna get to.
I know that cover.
Here's Sir Brian's
Formatting,
artwork. Even have a little back of the book blurb, and something that
I'm honored, by the way, to
the cover art down here. Brian's mentioned again. Have a
and I believe that is the last forward ever done by Rosemary Ellen Guiley, if I'm correct, right?
And that's why I was leading in with the higher ups, is you have a really terrific book with Brian's artwork, Rosemary with her.
She was an amazing lady and a friend, and she was in a tough position as a woman in this field for the longest time, and she was a shrewd businesswoman too, but she was wonderful. Her husband is still wonderful, and he's a good guy, and I thought it was great that she did that for Ron.
Mm-hmm. Well,
it's very blessed.
And it's a on Fairies and historical survey. It's a history book. I think the audience that Barbara's built up over the last 15 years, and the 7 years I've been with her. I think the audience has really enjoyed those, like the Elementals, fairy type discussions. And what you're doing on Fairies is you're like taking the reader back to the dawn of time, like the Paleolithic time period. Maybe we start there. Like Meadowcroft is in our neighborhood, in our region. That's going back nearly 20,000 years. So you're starting your book there. What are some traits that the Paleolithic people started noticing about the environment?
Right.
What's going on there, and we will move it forward to
Right. No, I
fit.
think that that's an excellent question. And that's really the way I start with any type of archetype that I investigate. Um, if it matters now, what did it matter whenever we first, stepped out of Africa? So what I want to look at is really what links us all as humanity. And it is the idea of a shared nature, like actually a capital N in nature, because we are very much part of this world, right? Nowadays, we want to go hiking. We have to travel someplace, sometimes pay admission, and we have to go and seek out the wilderness. But at one time, we were part of that, right? I like to talk about frequencies and vibrations. There is a universal frequency out there, and we have decided to step away from it, but it's still going on. It doesn't mean that the frequency has been turned off because we don't notice it anymore. It's still definitely going on. But everything now, when we look out the world outside of our windows, is if we can't control it, we see it as chaos, and more than likely we destroy it. Now flip this on its head. Whenever we were not the apex predator, and the only safety we had was around a very feeble firelight, and we were together gathered as a tribe, and we would tell stories. Inevitably they were probably ghost stories or stories about things that go bump in the night, and there was an idea of a living shamanism in there as well too. The idea that nature could be dealt with, and there was a conduit into the natural world, and there's something that we could kind of debate with. We had to have a diplomacy with nature in order to get that far. And whenever I talk about the wild man or ghosts, or in this case fairies, or werewolves or vampires, we can always go back to as far as we can in the archaeological record and find out that there was something going on in our distant past that really gave lineage. It was the genesis for all that stuff that frightens us to this day. All those things that we think are lurking around in the shadows, or the creature that's hiding under our bed, or the monster that's in our closet, it all had its origin when we were back there stepping out of the caves and trying to make a living in this world.
And just so you know, this is the frequency of the earth. It's the Schumann resonance. It's what Gaia puts out. And Lord knows what the Fae do with this frequency and how they manipulate it, or maybe use it to create portals, which they can come in and out of where they, well.
Yeah. And so it's interesting too, and I'm glad Brian brought that up, is because I recently was able to do an episode of Beyond Skinwalker Ranch. Now it was filmed 2 years ago, but it just aired. And as a researcher, you think, maybe I'm mistaken about things that I've witnessed. I witnessed a lot of what they would call earth lights, or these orbs of light, which seem to have some sort of sentient, power to them. And I started to notice that sometimes preceding the advent of these earth lights, there would be a sound that happened. Kind of like a tinkling sound. It sounded a little bit like a wind chime. And whenever the researchers were there, they brought flatbed trucks out into the middle of nowhere, and tens of thousands of dollars worth of equipment out there. And if you get a chance to watch the episode, it shows it on there. There was a frequency that was being put out by the environment, and whenever they turned that frequency into an audible frequency, it sounded like those chimes that I had heard. So it does seem to be that there's this interconnectivity around the world, right? There's a unifying harmony to all this stuff. This is probably what we would call the gray area of the paranormal. This is where it all has kind of its nexus, right? This is where it all kind of draws upon. And I think that that's a great starting point to think. And I think whatever my Fairies book, although that was one of the last books that I wrote on the On series, but in a way that probably should have been the first book, because I think that the fairy realm and the elemental realm is really the origin of a lot of these things that we call the paranormal.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not just plugging it because I know Ron and we're friends and brothers from different mothers, but that book, unless there's no other book like it. There is absolutely no other book like it. It goes into depth.
It's thorough.
It's very, very thorough. The only thing close to it was, and in a weird way, would have been anything from the Dungeons and Dragons series, the game where they would break down the elementals into different, hit points or whatever. Ron goes into a lot of detail about this, and if you're having an issue, or you come across a brown fairy or whatever, knowing what you can and cannot do, with them there or what their purpose is half the battle. Because you may come up against part of the fae that are just outright nasty, and they have every right to be nasty because humans throughout history have not treated them well. After there was a good relationship with these fae for a long time, and then something came in and changed that relationship, and the fae kind of dispersed, saying we got to stay away from the humans.
And that trope has been repeated throughout history in so many different, on every continent that has people, are these similar tales about once living in unity with the world around us, and all of a sudden, like Brian said, there was something happened. There was a turning point. And if you look at the Irish tradition, you have the Tuatha De Danann that were basically exiled from the world of human beings. But you also have the Pukwudgie up in the New England area. You have the little people in Navajo and Cherokee lore. You have the Menehune in Hawaii. So yeah, absolutely. The Homo forensis there in Indonesia. Also, if you look at their records as well, too, this was something they lived alongside of before they were excommunicated up into the mountains. So all around the world, there are stories about us not being alone, but something changed, and to the point that now we are at odds with these creatures.
And part of your book is it includes autobiographical elements. You do cover in 2011, I was part of an investigation on a Midsummer's Night. We encountered only what could be described as intelligent lights that responded to our interactions. And then you flip over to the next page, you get art is an attempted connection with this world of the fairy, a conduit to the one soul. And so I was like so inspired by that. See, I did my own little banner to like this. This is called McLovin on the Ridge. And see, there's
exactly
Brian. It's he looks a little bit like Toxie, chasing the like
Thanks,
a
Mark.
leprechaun kind of creature that came out of the
Oh,
fairy ring, and
I
here's
love it, love it, love it.
Ron, um, have it backward, sitting on a rock writing with the li- uh, l- lights going, like the Quinnicucks going around in front of him. But I thought you might like that. As
Wow,
That's
part-
that's
actually
good
great.
stuff, right? Right.
is
You
that
may have
better than
to
my?
enter the Crossing Realms conference like that, Ron, with you sitting back on, you
Yeah,
know, and I'm hanging from a rope or whatever it is. But something that
and
I
I thought Brian
shared
would like
something
that.
downstairs, just down there. I shared an image during the lockdown area, and I was going to give it to Ron if you wanted to use it for his presentation. But I don't know if your assistant, you can do either one of them. My daughter, we went out hiking to get out, of the house while everything was going on lockdown, and I took a picture of her. And as a paranormal guy, I don't take one picture. I usually take three, a minimum of three. Boom, 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 so we can see any type of differences in the image. This case, I took more than three, but this was the only image that she had a fairy on her finger.
Hmm.
And it's so I shared it here if you want to put it up. If you don't want to put it up, it's not a problem. But it's a pretty interesting image, and definitely um
Yeah,
worth it.
I,
oh
That's
wow,
there
my
it is.
daughter.
wow.
Right.
Yeah, it's on her hand.
And if you go to the next one, which is there, just bring the next one into the photo. That's the fairy that was on there. No photoshopping. It blew me away that I saw what I saw. I could not believe it at that point. And to this day, she's always been, I don't want to use the term special, but she does have gifts and abilities. And it didn't hurt that, um, you know, I kind of get why they went to her because of the spirit and I think the essence of the soul is really important in life at this point.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. Yes. So, you know, fairies have such a close connotation with the natural world. You know, it was believed by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle that they made the plants grow, the gardens grow and everything. And you often see them represented being around animal life as well, too. And there are some people that just have a proclivity to having animals come up to them. I've seen birds land on certain people before. Like, it's very odd that these people have such an openness to allow things into them. It's to the point that there's no fear among the wildlife, and I think that's the kind of stuff that these things are attracted to.
Oh, I you left me open, Ron, for a joke, but you just, oh my god.
Well, while you're thinking about that joke and
No,
what you're
no,
going to tell
no,
me
no.
about
I know what I want to say, and I'm just going to say, well, certain people attract cougars too, but
all
it's
right.
totally different type of
That's a
animal.
different type of attraction. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, but it's still an
But
animal attraction, actually.
But at the very opening of the program, you have such a great introduction, a pre-recorded introduction,
Yeah.
and you talk about unicorns even. So, the idea in the Middle Ages was the only thing that would be able to capture a unicorn is by a maiden who was pure. And so this idea keeps on coming back over and over again, that these creatures that are mystical, that these things that are preternatural, these things that are straddling the world between the mundane and the divine, they have this sense of calm to them whenever they're around children or the pure of heart. And that's something that continues, I think, even to this day. Like I said, I have many anecdotal things I've seen people going into the woods and animals coming up to them like they're pets. But I think that does happen, and I think Brian would agree with that.
Yeah, and I'm not only do I agree with it, but let's go back to what Ron said. But I've been saying as well for well over a decade. I knew that the thread in the paranormal is sound, frequency, vibration, resonance, and you have to understand that each of us we're made of electronics, and what's going on with us is we give off a signal, and that's the vibration. And as you vibrate higher, these animals resonate with it and they come over to you. I mean, for some reason, I get, I always have had animals come over to me. I've always had kids want to, I just like, I'll sit there, we'll do the tea party. I mean, to this day, my niece is 27 years old and she still acts like a little kid around me. Like, "Hi, Uncle Brian." It's, but I'm like, I just, when you treat people with your pure soul, it's kind of hard not to leave a positive mark in their life.
Well, yeah, there's a tenet in Buddhism as well too. To go throughout your entire day, you don't have to say a word, but just simply wishing goodwill on every living creature that you see. That does definitely change the frequency of everything. So, imagine our lives are all intertwined, kind of like, a body of water. And if you take a pebble in there and all these ripples go out, now, if you throw a negative pebble in there, it's going to spread negativity. But if you take a positive thought, one positive thought, put it into that universal consciousness, it's going to radiate goodness to people that you won't even imagine coming into contact with.
And then here's another concept. It's on the karma side of it. Well, where we were talking about it. When you think positive things happen. And when you send something positive out there, like I've been doing this for a longest time now. My youngest does it even better. I never taught her this, but I've been telling people for the last 7 years, like, thank you for your help. Have a blessed day. And some people initially were like, fighting me over it, but other people stopped fighting and they're like, thank you. You too. It changed their day around and made them positive for a minute. So everything positive you put out there, in theory, whatever you put out, you get back tenfold.
Right.
I'm not doing it for what the riches I will receive. I'm doing it because I actually care and I want good things to happen to good people. I really do.
Right. Yeah. So Brian said, he's seen this for, within the past decades, right? And that's my experience as well, too. I've been studying this for so long that the only thing that makes sense is this idea of frequency and resonance. That's the only thing. So this will be a announcement on your program, the first one ever. I will tell you that I'm starting down the road to studying Reiki because I do so firmly believe that energy out there, this moving, this idea of this living energy, right? It is so fundamental to who we are that I am going to put my money where my mouth is, I suppose, and I'm going to study that. So I'll let everybody know how that goes because I really do feel that it's a calling. I mean, throughout my life, I've done a lot of things. I've been involved in education. I've done this and I've done that, but I've never felt truly happy until I started to become introduced into the idea of Reiki, right? This idea of this interchange and this thought that can improve other people's lives. So I think that, as a paranormal investigator, I really have nowhere else to go. This just makes sense to me. So I'll let everybody know how that goes as I progress down that path.
And along the lines of this, we've had these, because Ron and I have had like discussions that lasted a long, long time after we've done interviews. But something you can do along the lines to understand what Ron's going through with the Reiki thing is you just take your hands and you kind of put them together. You actually can feel a little something in your hands. And what you're doing by putting the positive and negative together is there's an energy field there. And if you see all these great movies, Marvel movies where they go, they do stupid things like that, they're actually playing with that universal field, which is where Reiki pulls it from. That's where, harnessing it. And you can use your hands and the energy within you and then pulling it from the system to actually heal people. And you don't have to physically be in the same space as that person.
That's right. That's right. That's right. It's almost, it is to me, at least in my perspective, it is a form of prayer. It truly is. We talk about, how we can pray for people. And this is just just actually being involved, right? This is prayer with intensity, I should say. I guess it's you helping the prayer along.
Yeah. And anything, in this day and age, we could all use a little prayer and a little help.
Oh, absolutely, my friend. Absolutely.
Amen, brother.
Yeah, and
It's crazy.
yeah, so you were just talking about having a positive effect on people. Okay, in your historical interpretations of yeah, the Tuatha Danann, just going like way back in time
Mhm.
and moving forward. You do devote a lot of time to Puck from Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream, and we just covered that a few weeks ago with Dr. Earl Showerman. y- you know, so there's generally a very long time where okay, you get positive perceptions of fairies, the elementals, but you also get into how different institutions and cultures brought a negative view of the same creatures. Can you explain going from the nature type creatures to demonic interpretations?
Sure, sure. So, one of the best examples happens right around 1600, and that is our buddy King James over in England. The famous King James Bible that was put out. Right before that, however, he wrote a multi-volume treatise called Demonology, which is about demons, and he has elaborate chapters in there that cover fairies. And one of the suggestions he makes is that fairies are fallen angels, the same angels that fell with
Ooh.
Satan from heaven. Instead of becoming minions in hell, they rule this their little world here on Earth. So by the time we get up to Renaissance England, they've already become something a part of the dogma, right? Before that, they were always a little bit, I guess, ambivalent is the word. The way I talk about it in my book is that fairies are like nature, right? Sometimes it gives, sometimes it takes away. It's like feast or famine. Sometimes you have floods, sometimes you have beautiful days, sometimes you have terrible storms and winds and all that stuff. And fairies in a way embodies that, right? They could be the peaceful, gently blowing wind in springtime, or they could be that horrible winter storm in January. So they've always had a sense of gloom to them, which is why you never really want to become friends with fairies. You acknowledge their existence and you kind of move on, and they'll do their thing and you do your thing. So you try not to, have any kind of interaction with them. But by the time we get to the Renaissance, by the time we have the Bible now becoming in the vernacular of the people, fairies now are demonized to the point that people don't see them as something that could be helpful in the environment, but something to be feared.
Okay. And so that's about contemporary with Shakespeare, but y- we kind of get a couple hundred years later. They're the fairies are reinterpreted by Poe,
Yes.
uh, William Blake, Keats.
Sure, sure.
Coleridge,
Yeah.
yeah,
Good old Samuel
Cole,
Taylor Coleridge. Yeah.
yeah, he's one of my favorites. Blake
Mhm.
has he was actually an interesting artist as well, but after a couple hundred years of the elementals, be, having aspersions cast on them, it, the romantic poets are kind of rediscovering
Mhm.
what so what are some of the then your book also has all kinds of okay, there's a Blake drawing as well. I should probably put it that
Mhm.
What
Yeah,
what do you find it interesting that they talk about Cupid, and could not Cupid be a fairy or an elemental?
sure, absolutely. The idea, right? It's winged, so it can ascend different
Yep.
aspects of our reality. But Mark, you really did a very eloquent job putting this all together. So
Yes.
one of my favorite poetic movements is, of course, the Romantics.
does
And
they
whenever
get
we think,
does,
yeah,
does that mean I get like a bonus
you get a
for
gold
That's
star,
true.
gold star, gold
You don't have
star.
to take the final mark.
No, that's right. But when we think of the Romantics, we think of Keats and Coleridge and all that stuff. But we also have to remember that Mary Shelley is also part of this movement, right? And she's writing Frankenstein at this time. And the
Yep.
reason why the Romantics are the way they are is because they spent so much time outdoors. They
He was
started.
there
Yep, yep,
as she was right. If
yes.
yeah, we can get into the bigger fairies as well, but
Right,
okay,
right.
go
No,
ahead.
no, no, no. They saw the world as changing forever to the point that it would no longer be the same, right? The idea of romance is a longing for the time that went before. That's what we talk about, like the Aeolian harp, something that you put in your window and nature makes the music. Or we're talking about going with Coleridge to see Tintern Abbey as it slowly desecrates into nothing. These are people that still love the environment around them. They're fascinated by it, they're curious by it, and they feel an energy from it. They draw from it, and it really makes their music or their poetry really musical. Actually, Keats talks about the nightingale, or different type of flowers because the natural world was important to them, and this is really the last stand of the natural world because really after this all heck breaks loose, right? Industrialization was already coming into play by this point. Children no longer had a childhood, right? Children were now going to work at 6 or 8 years old. Factories were taking young girls away from the house. The world would forever change. Looking around you, London would be belching smoke up into the air through all these factories. The world was forever changing
The
for the
child
worse.
labor, yeah, the
Yep,
child labor laws.
yep. We're changing forever. So what we see in the Romantics is really a documentation of the way it was before the world changed forever. When you could still take a walk out there and you could still smell the flowers and you could go look over Mont Blanc and all this stuff. And now it has changed. It has changed. So the what the Romantics had in them, what people in the Middle Ages had in them, and even a little bit in the Greco-Roman period as well, is they had an innocence, right? That is all gone now because one of the ways in which our innocence has been taken away from us forever is we've eaten that apple off the fruit of the tree called science, right? So now everything is numbers and everything is equations, and all that stuff that was so mysterious now is now part of our scientific lexicon, right? It's now part of the binary aspect of the world around us. We as human beings need mysteries because it takes away our hubris, right? It's a way of saying that we do not know everything that's out there, and that's why we need wild places, and that's why we need a venue like Crossing Realms, is because a group of us is getting together and say, you know what? There's things that still go out there that, there's more things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of in your philosophies, as Hamlet would say. And I believe that to my dying day, that there are things out there that we in our intellect can never, ever solve. And we need that. We need that. We need to look outside and have just a little bit of trepidation about that shadow out there, because like we were when we first were, off the plains of Africa, that world around us shaped us. Our fears shaped us for the better to make us who we are, right? It made our brain become imaginative. It made our brain, look to the future. Now what we have AI everywhere, right? So if somebody wants to write a book, you just ask a computer to do it. There's nobody researching anything anymore. If you have a question, you talk into your phone and it will spout out some sort of 3-sentence answer. We need to get back to that innocence where the world around us teaches us, because if we're going to have a perfect teacher, that is the one to have.
Okay.
That is a true statement right there.
Yeah. So okay. I was trying to think of the Coleridge poem. I can't believe it. The poem where he was might be Frost at Midnight. Where he's kind of warning his son Harley about not to be in the far off city. Okay, so you get that, kind of shunning the industrialization, but around this same time in America, you're bringing up examples of the Shoshone tribe in the western U.S. Coshocton. That's nearby, right
Yeah,
there
that's
above my
not very
finger.
far at all. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
in our neighborhood. The Little People graveyard that was found in that county. You're talking about Jeff Meldrum's work. You're quoting Jeff as saying many Iroquois seem to regard both Bigfoot and the Little People as spiritual or interdimensional beings who can enter or leave our physical dimension as they please and chose to whom they present themselves. Okay, so you're going on to say that there is the link between uh, the documentation of unusual uh, nature characters in Europe and in America. So what you have people on two different continents, kind of discussing the same, documenting the same thing, whether it's the Little People or say Bigfoot.
Mhm.
So
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
what's going on there?
Yeah. So whenever we talked, an hour ago about the idea of shamanism, right? That was one of the things I brought up. These things again act as that conduit between two worlds. At one point, you may have had somebody in the tribe that acted as that intermediary between worlds, but now, which is very, very curious, we see as we seem to be ostracized from that world. Right? We're no longer able to straddle those two worlds. So what comes to us to do that? These little people, or this Bigfoot character, or even in Tibet we have the Yeti, which is far more spiritual than it is physical. So we have these creatures, these entities now coming to us, and they act as that intermediary between our world and the world of the natural realm.
Okay, and you get similar behaviors on both continents as well. There's abducting children
Mhm.
appears in the literature, or at least the folklore. Is it the Albat Witch?
Yep, the Elbit Witch in around the Susquehanna in Pennsylvania. We talked about the Homo forensis, exactly the same attributes as well. The Pukwudgie up in the Wampanoag language up there in the Bridgewater Triangle. Again, we see this idea that there are these entities that appear on the periphery of civilization, and they interact with us from time to time, but it's usually in a malicious way.
Right.
Okay.
And as you can see, I just put some of Ron's
I
books.
did. That's very, very kind of you.
Wow.
I don't know how to do that kind of stuff. That's the reason why Brian has this imprint, right, called Goblin Press, which to me is one of the best prints out there as well. So if anybody needs Brian to do work his magic on books, he's the guy to see.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Trying to finish our book. I really wish the responsibilities that I have would relax a little bit.
That's right.
You know, that's the problem we have in life, is that we have, our biggest enemy is time, our biggest villain, and people, don't understand. Dad,
But
why
that's
couldn't you?
But that's actually a very poetic thing to say as well, too. And as we're talking about this stuff, and this is what the Romantics try to strive for, or even Shakespeare, the idea that time is the enemy to us all. Well, we have invented time, right? Time is just an imaginary kind of place saver. It's how we order the day and everything. But time in and of itself really does not exist. So I think another reason why we talk about the Romantics reaching out to use fairies as a part of their metaphysical conceit is that they live outside of our time and our world. They don't have to go to work. They don't punch time clocks. They live in a natural state of being. Guess what? That's the way we were created as well. We are the only inhabitants of planet Earth that actually has to pay to live here, right? Somehow, somewhere, we dropped the ball, right? We should be living out there, picking apples from trees, having May dances and bonfires and all this stuff. But we decided that we were going to get away from that vibration that Brian talked about, and we decided that we were going to start our own vibrations, right? So our circadian rhythm is off. Everything about our world is artificial. And, I was in education for a number of years. And, there was actually something called nature deficit disorder, where children have no idea how to interact with the natural world. And that's becoming now adults that don't know how to do that either. And that's a shame, because, like I said before, we are not an enemy to the world. We are supposed to be part of that world. But we've decided that we would step away from that natural frequency. And guess what? Whenever you step away from that frequency, what happens? We are no longer at ease. Now we've become diseased. And that's where you get that term from, that we are no longer at the natural rhythm of everything. So our ease is now off, which leads to disease.
Okay, and a lot of these town the settings where some of these observations have been made, have names that probably make you wonder, like, this root word sounds really unusual, especially like in America, like town names like Fayetteville, and you're saying Fayette means quite literally little fairy.
It does.
Yeah,
Right.
like in America, yeah, it's like Saint Peter isn't as um prominent of a saying as say in Italy. So if the Europeans have more of like a fairy folklore, but it's pro- place names in America suggest the same thing.
Mhm.
We would kind of have to give it some credence. Like, what are the early 19th century settlers observing there? Is it something like this?
Oh, again, look at that, my friend. That is, Brian. I'm telling you, this guy is made to be an illustrator.
See, get like, kind of goes back to Santa Claus figures. You bring
Mhm.
in UFOs and Bigfoot. So yeah, this is, I try really hard to keep with the video to make some interesting shows, especially for Brian's amusement.
No, I think that's some world class stuff, and also again very pertinent to what we're talking about. In the 1970s, early 1970s, here in Western Pennsylvania, in Fayette County of all places, there was a sighting of a UFO and two Bigfoot that were walking through a farmer's field holding a glowing orb in their hand. Right. So this is from, again, we have the same connection with Fayette there as well. And then I started to look at other places like Fayetteville, North Carolina. A lot of murders in that town. And then we have Fayetteville in West Virginia, where the New River Gorge is. So, and a lot of paranormal activity there. So, whenever you start looking around, I'm thinking that maybe they named these towns almost as a warning. I said in the book, almost like whenever they drew on a map, here be dragons. It was one of those things where they go into a place, they obviously see that there's something a little off kilter here. So they slap a name of like Fayette on it. So, and move on.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I just want to be like filth.
Yeah, well,
It
you're not going to be filth, I'll tell you that. But filth actually has talent. No, only joking. It's hungry critters. It was actually very interesting when we did it on the show. And Ron's been on our show. Ron was like our first guest, right?
Yeah,
I
I
think you
think
Yeah.
were
so.
the first guest, and we're gonna have him back. And then I think when I'm at the Crossing Realms conference, I believe I asked to be next to Mr. Murphy if possible. Hopefully we'll have the book done. We won't. That's when he'll kill me.
No.
Or unalive me. But we can, do a quick broadcast live from the facilities, and maybe even walk around the room and tell people, introduce them to some of the guests, and they should be here right now. So,
Oh, we did that up at the Ocean State Paracon,
yep.
and it worked out beautifully. I love that kind of man on the street type of interviews.
Yeah, I think it was great. And Ron and I are both really, really quick. So that's why every guest that has ever been on Inside the Goblin Universe, when I got there, I can't attest for things prior, but Ron was working with another individual who we quickly sent to the insane asylum. But every guest, and some of them were really high up there. Like we had Steve Alton on. He is the Michael Crichton. I don't even know if he's still alive. I mean, I know he's suffering from debilitating MS, I believe, but he was like, my publicist said to do this show, and I was like, he was thinking like, oh, this is gonna be terrible. And he goes, wow, this is great. You guys actually asked real questions. This is fun. I can't wait to come back. But this is from everybody. We always got, every guest was like, wow, refreshing that two guys really do a good show. And that's why we're so famous now.
Mm-hmm. Meat and potatoes, Brian. Meat and potatoes. We just
Yep.
stick with the staples. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it helped you to move up to having an appearance with Penny every other week. Is that?
Yeah, well, that turned into every Thursday, but we're gonna have to change that because I can't do every Thursday. But yeah, I do Wake Nation. I have my slot from 9 to 9:30, and I veer away from the political, and I try to do something. Again, let's go back to what we were saying. I try to leave them with something positive, and talk about astronomical stuff, astrological stuff. I warn people about certain events, and we just do our best that way.
Okay. Ron, other than the Crossing Realms conference, we got together at the Boru conference.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
In April. It's Dan Hagman puts on just a stellar
Was it? Did
show.
you say Burrow or Baru?
Boru, Butler Organization for the Research of the Unexplained.
Because on the Irish side there's Brian Baru.
Yeah, King
of the Leprechauns, right? Which is interesting because you're saying it, and that's what my dad used to call me. So I was like, how come I missed this conference?
No. It's that had nothing to do with ESP. That I was just reminiscing with Ron. But go ahead, Brian.
No, I'm trying to get Ron to get the heck out of the Northeast and come to the free state of Florida. I'm trying to figure this out.
Is there a conference
where sea captain? Or it's not only just conferences. I mean, Ron is also a thespian. He performs. He's been in movies. You'll be surprised the movies. Ron give you his reels, but he does movies. He does reenactments. He's literally the quintessential artist on multiple brands, and I can see him doing those haunted ghost tours in one area and talking about pirates up in Tampa at another point, and then teaching at the University of Tampa classes about the paranormal. Weren't you the pirate this weekend? No.
Well, Brian, I'll tell you what, I would love to make that happen with you. If you and I could go into business together and do this, I think that we would be well set. So let's keep that open.
Bring Mark down too, because West Virginia.
No, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. I do need to find another place to live.
Yeah.
And there's no place like having beautiful weather all the time.
Oh yeah. Well, we're in that Mother Nature season hurricanes, so it gets very, very interesting, but and can get dangerous too. But hopefully it all works out.
Ron, do you have another conference where you'll be speaking this year, other than Crossing Realms next in about a month? But is there other stuff you're doing?
Right. So not this weekend coming up, but the weekend after that, I'll be in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, at the Fearsome Folklore Festival, and I'll be talking down there. And then about 2 weeks after our event in Missouri, I will be in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, at GoblinCon.
Goblin?
Yeah, I'm excited
You're going to
about
be there with the goblins, huh?
I am.
You know what? He's been so far down the Mason-Dixon line. He is a Southerner. I'll do the play, Mr. Murphy. You should be down here on the South.
That's right. And I do love the people down there. I really do. I have such an affinity towards the people of Tennessee and Kentucky. I just think that they're just so genuine. And I recently was down in Florida for a week a couple months ago, and I found that everything about it was awesome. So
when I wasn't here, he comes down.
I know, exactly. You won't have to twist my arm very hard, I don't think, until you get me down there.
Yeah, Barbara has a couch for you. Or sleep on the
You're volunteering Barbara's house now.
Yeah,
that would be the house that you said. Oh, I could see there.
Oh, that's right, with the cat. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, sleep on the little cat stand she had in the background. Yeah, and you did right about Hopkinsville.
Yes, that's
the 11 people in the house. That really is a interesting story from 1955. That was you're writing that they're about 3 feet tall with pointy ears.
Mm-hmm.
So so you are covering that, going into the Mothman. That sets up some of the other shows. But one of the interesting points that we were discussing with Blake and Coleridge in the romantic poets and their theme of longing for a simpler time. Brian, right when I'm getting to that point, Brian changed the background, but Brian had this your Squonk book.
Yes.
I'll put it back up right now. It's not a problem.
It's on the left-hand side of Brian's screen. Yep, that's it. That sounded like what
did we win?
You're kind of touching on the same subject as what is the Squonk representing?
Sure. I look at it. It says it right there as the byline. It's a environmental perspective on the idea of the squonk, because I don't think there's anybody out there looking for a flesh and blood squonk, but it's so popular that songs are written about it, and they have a festival up in Johnstown 3 years running now about it. So why do we need a squonk? And this book covers why I genuinely believe the squonk matters to us, is because he represents what happens if we do not act as stewards and conservers of our environment.
I did not know there was a Johnstown Squonk Festival.
Yes, I've been blessed enough, really honored enough for the past 3 years to speak up there. So we're having it again next year as well. Usually takes place in August. I'll be speaking there again this year, and that would be great if both of you guys could come out, because it's very well attended, and it truly is a magical place.
I would love to come up and maybe possibly present if there's a possibility. And I definitely would want a large shirt this time, and maybe another bag of nuts, but sugar coated almonds. But isn't the squonk really like one of like the sins? It's like gluttony, and when it appears, it means that you have forsaken. It's a sad creature, but it's gluttony for the most part. Look at yourself.
Well, it's sad. It cries, but what is it crying for? Right? It cries because it's so ugly, but it also cries because it really has no place left to go. It says in the only mention about it in any book It's called Fearsome Creatures of the Lumberwoods, that originally started out in the deserts, and then it moved into the swamps, and now it finally ended up in the hemlock forests of Pennsylvania. And what's interesting, if you look at this from a environmental point of view, swamps and deserts are very unique ecosystems that are fragile ecosystems as well too. So what I think is going on here is, as we go about destroying the world around us, this little creature has no place left to go. So its last refuge is in the pine woods of Pennsylvania. And the sad part is, whenever this book was being written about the fearsome creatures of the Lumberwoods, we're only about another 20 or 30 years before all the old growth in Pennsylvania was cut down. So it is kind of like a warning. He's the perfect poster child for the environmental movement.
Yeah, and you know, when you said that you moved to the hemlock fields, I mean, talk about, you want to be the king and sit amongst the poison, or do you want to change yourself, look within, and do something about it? And I think there's
Absolutely.
a
Yes.
lot of squonk in humanity.
Yes. That's right.
Woe's me, but yet you have the ability to change and do something, and you refuse to
Right.
look within yourself for it.
Right. Looking for yourself for any cryptid, anything in the paranormal, the first place you look is in yourself, because one of my favorite psychologists, philosophers was Carl Jung, and he said, inside everybody, we have this darkness, right? We have this shadow, this place where we don't want to explore, because that's where we keep our deepest, darkest secrets, and we don't want anybody to know about them. But inside that shadow is a mirror. And if you look at that mirror, you see yourself looking back at you. So really, the things that we fear the most, the things that we hate about the world the most, is actually a reflection about who we are as well too. And of course, we have Friedrich Nietzsche, who said the longer you stare into the abyss, the sooner the abyss will start staring back at you. So there is this is a symbiotic relationship with all these cryptids, that they're embroidered into our DNA. In order for them to survive, they need us. They need our energy. But in order for us to survive, I feel we need their energy as well. Again, like I said, we are far better that we still have places that will shelter things that go bump in the night, because whenever all those places are gone, we will no longer be the kind of humans we need to be.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's just a very interesting, how Ron does what he does, as an author and a poet. And you were talking about the romantic poets out there, and believe it or not, Ron Murphy is one of those romantic poets that is out there. I mean, he has, he's talking about Jung, he's talking about self-help books, he's talking about all these different things, and he's really, dug deep. I believe he's certified, if I'm correct, to talk about this and help people. Are you,
Yeah.
so he's not pulling it out of thin air, to say the least. He is discussing it, uh, almost on an expert way, but he's also giving you the perspective of someone who, has loved, has lost, has loved again, has experienced certain things, and he gets you. So that's what, him and I used to talk like all the time. He used to post these wonderful, poems in there about love, and you know, you could feel the heart beating at that point. And then I would do some stuff too, and we were just like, we write really good lyrics. So,
Yeah, so I could play an instrument, which I can't, or if I could sing, hold a tune, I would be touring with Brian right now, and he can do it both, fortunately. So one of these days, maybe we'll see Brian out there.
yeah, not without Ron Murphy or Mark. I need Mark Eddy Productions, and I need Ron Murphy, brother from different mother, to go out there, and I think we can do a pretty good job. But whatever, I've only had one book out. It's right there. It's Words and Muses. I'm working on the other one, and I'm not using AI, by the way, because if I used
No,
AI, it would have been done what, 5 years ago?
And the thing is, AI really wasn't out there. All the stuff that we have out there right now was all before the advent of AI, which I feel very, very proud about. But the thing is, you quickly know who relies on that whenever you ask a question. Once
Yes,
they
sir.
can't answer a question about it,
Bingo.
then you know that they did not do the research. So there you go.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of people that are doing it.
Oh, I'm so glad.
We
we
don't
won't
name names. We're not
We
kissing
will
and
name
telling.
names, but absolutely, 100%. That's right.
Just remember what he said.
Hmm.
And I've said it, like, you ask the question and they're searching for an answer.
Hmm.
They didn't write the book.
That's right. They didn't write it.
But their buddy goes, oh, and that's blah, 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 blah. Remember that? Oh, yeah, I remember it. That guy wrote the book.
Mhm.
This guy couldn't write it,
That's the other thing.
And
There's a lot of ghost hunters, or ghost hunters, a lot of
Ghost
ghost
writers.
writers. And yes, absolutely. Yep.
yes.
Yeah,
And Ron's not brocking around whatsoever.
That's right. Rock and roll.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's like a little inside joke, but we're basically talking about the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I've encountered like a brockette. And it's, but yeah, we'll discuss that for another
Sure. I thank you
show.
for having me on.
We do want to go for a few more minutes. Then
I'm
we
good.
started.
I can change backgrounds. I can sing.
Well,
whatever
Ron has to do that thing called
work. Yeah,
work.
I'm an old
work.
man. Let's go another 5 minutes, gentlemen. Let's go another 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. You also have a Great Lakes cryptids book. That's cryptids is like becoming something really a passion for me. I really enjoy that topic. So what are you finding out about what's swimming around in Lake Erie? It's about 3 hours up this way from me. What?
Yep, for me too. Yeah, so each Great Lake has its own chapter. So it introduces you to these glacial lakes that were formed right after the last ice age, and then it just delves into what may or may not be in there. Lake Erie supposedly has a plesiosaur type of creature in there. It's been seen even over in the Ohio area. In Lake Michigan, 1955, there was an attack that actually has been documented in shark attacks around the world of a bull shark attacking a young man in Lake Michigan, which is really, really strange.
Yeah.
And Lake Superior has what seemed to be some sort of alien creature, or maybe even a flying saucer that has been assumed by the Native Americans that it is a living creature, but it's called the water panther that is seen to spit fire and sparks and everything like that. So each Great Lake has its own ecosystem, and each Great Lake also has its own very particular cryptid attached to it as well. It was very fun writing it. I got to visit all the Great Lakes, and that was the first book that Brian did the cover for. And it's a gorgeous cover. It's actually worthy of a poster. It is that good.
Oh, thank you.
Mhm.
And some sidebar lakes, Lake Champlain, which is within the line, for the most part. They have a champ there, and I proposed when we were talking about Loch Ness Monster at one point, and people gave me a hard time for it, but some people were thinking about it. I propose that there is a trench system that the Loch Ness Monster, it's the same creature that goes from Scotland and across within the trench and pops up in different areas, and you're actually seeing the same creature. but I can't prove it. So it's just a hypothesis at this point in time.
And that's
Interesting.
what we need. We need hypothesis.
Yes. Too many people like they they put that hill to die on. No, this guy is the real deal. No, I'll tell you. There's not many hills I'm going to die on, but I will die on truth and good people. That's where I'm going to be with, and I'm going to promote them. And Ron Murphy's one of them. And I love the guests that are in the comment section there. But there's another group there, and Ron, if you haven't done the show, which I think you have, Wayne and Michelle's show, Michigan UFO Sightings and Paranormal Encounters, they probably would love to have you on there. They're really good people. They're teachers, and they had an encounter, and wonderful group. And also, Mark, and this has been a fantastic experience, and we're
Oh, it
definitely
has.
going
It
to
has.
invite somebody that's not on screen right now on the other broadcast. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
The thing about it too is this is making me very, very excited about this upcoming Crossing Realms. So this is going to be great.
Well, I'm bringing a lot of rum, so we'll drink it and then take over the next conference. Shut across your bow, if you would, Mr. Murphy.
That sounds excellent.
Okay, so how about plug anything? We'll kind of wrap things up. Let Ron get a good night's sleep, and Brian could do his
outro.
My plug.
Yeah.
My plug is that tomorrow, Wednesday, 8 p.m. To 10 p.m. Eastern, we're having Jamie Walker on, who is ye old goth witch, and he does some witchy stuff. Spells. He grew up with a nana that used to teach him these things. This is where the oral history is important, and where these stories come from. But I've been following him. He's just an interesting guy, and he's one of the few people I've ever seen wear a Joy Division t-shirt.
Right.
Yeah, so Ron will get it because we grew up with that kind of, and
he sure did.
And it's a great band. And most people don't know Joy Division because Ian Curtis unalived himself on the eve of his world tour. But they became another band called Depeche. I believe no, not Depeche Mode. They're not Depeche. I forgot the name of the band. A very big band in the 80s with electronics. I'll figure it out. I think it was Depeche Mode, but it's not Depeche Mode.
It wasn't Depeche Mode. No. This is the same time as the Smiths, and this is the same time of Morrissey and stuff. I know.
The Cure?
No,
I'm drawing a blank, and I literally just heard
Bananarama.
No. I'll tell you in about 2 seconds. But New
Chumba
Order.
Wumpa?
That's the band. I'm thinking it's the name of the band is New Order, and you definitely know New Order. Blue Monday, and there's a ton of a Bizarre Love Triangle. So this is how you don't be a squonk. You rise above, and you create new music, and you continue on.
That's right.
See how I tied that in right there?
I do.
There we go.
And if anybody needs to find me, I'm at ron-cryptoguru.com. That's my website. And you can find my books on there. But you can also find them on Amazon under Ronald L. Murphy Jr. You can like me or friend me on Facebook. Again, Ronald L. Murphy Jr. And you can email me at InsideTheGoblinUniverse@gmail.com. And or come and see me at the Fearsome Folklore Festival, the Crossing Realms Festival, or the Hopkinsville GoblinCon.
Wonderful.
Cool. Okay.
But
I'm loving the website, Ron.
Thank you.
Guru. I'm loving it.
Okay, yeah, I think we probably wrap there. We started early, getting done early, and I thought, yeah, this was just a lot of fun,
Oh, it
very
was great
informative.
fun. Great fun. I enjoyed the hell out of this,
Yeah,
guys.
yeah. We'll
Yeah.
have to do this again. It's a very uh, creative experience for me with doing my filth imitations. So, uh, yeah.
Both of them
So,
great.
yeah, I think.
See, the next time you do it, though, I want to see Ron sitting in the chair next to the cat boy in Barbara's.
I can probably arrange that.
Yeah, we probably could arrange that for you,
Okay, yeah,
or next
yeah. I
to
kind
me
of
in
have,
my house. But
yeah, yeah. I think in the upcoming, it's we have a couple next 2 weeks are Mothman related shows, so they're going to be really good. So so if you liked tonight's cryptid kind of stuff, we're going to be doing kind of taking the same information, exploring different avenues. So we got some really good stuff coming up, and
that's good.
so yeah, check out the Crossing Realms conference and all the other stuff that Ron and Brian are doing, and we
Third
will
Eye Live.
see. Yep,
Promote that.
yeah, and we'll see everyone next week. Thank you, Barbara, for keeping us on the
Yes.
air. Thank you,
Thank
Sir
you, Barbara.
Brian and Ron, for being guests
Thanks for having
tonight.
us.
Yeah, I actually at the Gettysburg a conference, I did buy one of my kids a shirt that there's a Mothman. It says, "Show me on the no." There's a doll, and it says, "Show me on the doll where the Mothman touched you."